Hey everyone, welcome back to 996 The Howl. This video idea came to me in a dream that's never happened before. It was Sunday night, for some reason, dreamed up this scenario where I was doing this video with these statistics on the boards. Not all of them, but I think probably just the first row. And I had no reason not to film it, see what happens, have some fun here. There's no Coyotes hockey, so a lot of time on my hands currently. So I got 5 teams that are battling for both wild card spots. I got LA, St. Louis, Nashville, Seattle, and of course the Coyotes. You could make some arguments. Calgary or Minnesota could be here, but we just saw Calgary sell Elias Lindholm. Before that even happened, I had this board ready. So I said that Calgary Flames in my head should be sellers. Minnesota, they're spinning their wheels. I don't think they're going to be able to sell what they want, but I think maybe they're not going to gain any more traction. I think these 5 teams are going to be with the wild card spots, and no discredit to the LA Kings. Edmonton, Vegas, and Vancouver are just going to run away with the top 3 in the division. As you can see, the Kings pretty much are the best team out of this 5-team pile, but you still have to include them. They're in the race, even though they've had a pretty bad January and maybe stretched that into the end of December. They really have not played their best hockey probably in the past 15 to 20 games, so it's a bit alarming, but after looking at all these stats, I don't think there's anything to worry about. And also, they only have 23 wins, and the Coyotes have 23 wins as well. So the Kings have a lot of overtime shootout losses. They have 10, and the Coyotes have 3. So, the LA Kings play a lot of close games, and, a good team brings games to overtime. That's why I always say for the Coyotes, just bring it to overtime, lose, get that point when you're on the road. To just lose in regulation, especially their 3 straight regulation losses in the Southeast road trip that just ended last week, you need to get some of those games into overtime to help you in the standing. So let's get into it. Points percentage, the Kings lead away, followed by St. Louis, Nashville, Seattle, and Arizona is hanging around just above the 500 mark. Goals for per game, LA leads again with 3 goals, 3.15 goals per game, and everyone else is below 3 goals per game. I always say for the Coyotes, they got to be over the 3 goal per game mark. They've been trending the wrong direction recently, but they've had moments, a lot of moments during this season where they've been above the 3 goal per game mark. So they got to get back to that style of hockey. Goals against per game, the Kings, unbelievable, 2.65 goals against per game. Seattle doing really well as well. Then everyone is over 3, where Arizona's at 3.06. Again, needs to be under 3. And they've shown they could have that goals against per game as under 3. So it was just a bad road trip. Maybe they get back to their the way they were playing before even the calendar year of 2024 to get those numbers a bit better. We go to goal differential. If you ever want a 90% marker of which team's going to make the playoffs and which teams are not, just go to NHL.com standings and look at the goal differential column. If you see green, those teams have a 90% chance of making the playoffs. If you see red, they're probably not. But, over here, we have all this red followed by the Kings plus 20 goals over goals against. So the Kings automatically are going to make the playoffs for sure. But these other teams, it's good to see Arizona leading the way at only a -4 goal differential. And then it gets worse from there. Nashville, Seattle. St. Louis is a -12, and they hold the second wild card spot, being at -12. So if you go by my rule, I don't think it's going to be St. Louis that gets that last spot. Through all these stats, I think Nashville might end up taking it, which is a surprise coming from the offseason they had. Then we go to power play percentage, the only area where the Coyotes lead. They have the best power play out of these 5 teams at 22.3%. Seattle almost there at 21.74. Kings are okay as well. The Kings, Seattle, and obviously the Coyotes all have top 10 power plays, so that's good. Actually, no, it's save percentage is the Kings, Coyotes, and the Kraken all are in the top 10, not power play. But yeah, Nashville's got a pretty average to below average power play, and St. Louis just an abysmal power play. They have penalty killing. LA's #1 in the league in penalty killing. This number is absurd, 87.33%. And then every other team is below 80%. That is a actually crazy number, man. Like, I wish the Coyotes could ever hit 85%, let alone 87.33. Coyotes second place in penalty killing, not too bad. Again, we've seen it over 80% throughout the season. Save percentage, like I said, top 3 teams are top 10 in the league, and the Coyotes are second place with a 903. Then we'll get into some analytics. All these numbers are 5-on-5, and pretty cool coincidence that they're all in the same order for all these analytical stats. You can't only just pick one analytical stat and say this is why this team is better. For analytics, you got to get a whole bunch and just sort of come up with a thesis on why a team is good or not. Expected goals for percentage, if you're below 50%, your opponents are scoring more than you, so you never want to be below 50%. Unfortunately, the Coyotes are at 48.43, and St. Louis is way, way down at 44.72. Then we have Corsi percentage. Corsi is any shot taken. So it could be a shot on net, it misses the net, or the shot's even blocked. That all counts as a Corsi. So imagine Corsi as just a shot. Then you add up those totals. Let's say you have 2,000 Corsi, which is all your shots on goal, plus miss the net, plus blocked, and then you have your opponents do the same thing, and then you divide those numbers and you get a percentage. So if it's over 50%, that's good. That means you're shooting a lot more than your opponents, which teams like to see. Unfortunately, again, the Coyotes are below that 50% mark at 47.43, and again, St. Louis really down in the dumps. Over 50% is the goal. 55 is actually pretty high. So the Kings, obviously, getting more chances, getting more shots on net than their opponent, and leading to scoring chances more than their opponent. We'll get to that later. Fenwick is the same as Corsi, but it doesn't count blocked shots. So it's any unblocked shot attempt. So a shot on goal or a shot misses. These include goals as well. So pretty much almost the same thing. I don't know why there's a distinction between an unblocked and a blocked shot. And then a high danger chance. I like saying this in my videos, the Coyotes didn't generate any high danger chances. If you think that's just a string of words, no, they mean something. I got some graphics here to help you out. When I say a high danger chance, I say a chance in this green area, this box here. So what they do with a scoring chance is there's 3 zones. You have the green, the pink, and then outside of those 2 areas. Outside of those 2 areas, it's a scoring chance value of 1. You go to the pink, it's a score chance value of 2. You go to the green, it's a scoring chance value of 3. And if a scoring chance is a value of 3 or higher, that is considered a high danger chance. Now, just because you're in the scoring chance value 2 area, which is the pink area, you could still add a value to that number 2. You can do that if it's a rebound shot, you add 1 to that value, or if it's a shot off the rush, and they classify a shot off the rush as a defensive zone or neutral zone event that goes uninterrupted and leads to a shot on goal within 4 seconds. So if it's a turnover in the neutral zone, you enter the zone, take a shot, you could add 1 to whatever area on the ice you're in. And you could be taken away a scoring value of only 1 if it's a blocked shot. So let's say you're in that green area, a scoring chance value of 3, the shot gets blocked, that turns into a 2, no longer a high danger scoring chance. If you're in the pink area and it's a shot on goal that turns into a rebound, now it gets bumped up to 3, now it's a high danger chance. So now that you've visualized all that, LA, 55%, that means they're generating way more high danger chances than their opponents. If you're below 50%, like the Coyotes, the opposition is getting more high danger chances than you are. So you want these analytical numbers over 50%. You want to be doing better than your opponent at 5-on-5. And right now, looking at these stats, the Coyotes are faltering a little bit, about 1.5%, 2.5% in these two categories. Now, after all that mumbo jumbo, let's go where the teams are at currently. The last 10 games, the Coyotes are tied for second for the best record. Considering going 0-3-0 on that Southeast road trip, and considering the bad start they had in the calendar year 2024, St. Louis is the best out of the five, 6-3-1. Nashville and Seattle are tied with the Coyotes. And LA, like I said, doing poorly. They're at 3-5-2. So let's look ahead here. If you could even read it, I don't think the teams really matter. The only notable thing I would say is Nashville gets to face San Jose and Anaheim, which are two basement teams. For the Coyotes, they don't get an easy game here in the next 10 games. I guess Montreal is the only one, but even them are sneaky and could make you work hard to earn that win. Minnesota as well, I don't see that as an easy win or an easy game. They're going to be desperate to claw into this conversation that I've left them out of. So the Coyotes, at least, it's 5 home games, 5 away games in their next 10. For LA, it is 6 away and only 4 at home. And LA gets to play Blue Jackets and Anaheim. So maybe a bit easy, those 2 home games. And then Nashville is 5 away, 5 at home. Seattle is 6 home and 4 away, and then St. Louis is 4 at home and 6 away. So nothing too crazy. It's not like one team has 7 games at home and 3 games away. So yeah, just a video I dreamt of. Try to make it a bit interesting, a bit of a Frankenstein video. But if I were if I had to make a bet right here of who's gonna get the 2 wildcard spots, for sure LA. And I'm going to say Nashville. I just like their stats. They're always above 50%. I could see a case for Seattle too, but something about Nashville just feels like they're performing above their heads, but they're getting a lot of great play from O'Reilly, Forsberg, Josi as well. You can never count out Saros, even though their goaltending numbers are bad. He could always rebound and pick it up. Just something about Nashville seems like, I think they could just squeak in, but they won't do any damage in the playoffs. So maybe it's better that the Coyotes do miss it instead of getting, embarrassed again in round 1. But to be honest, I think with Arizona, I would love them to make the playoffs. I don't think it will happen, but there's always a chance, and they got a good chance, which is what they wanted in the offseason, to give this team a really good chance to A, compete, and B, actually make the playoffs. And you never know, at Mullet Arena, the Coyotes could play a hard game, whoever they're matched up against, maybe the Avalanche. They've had success against the Avalanche, so you can't really count them out there. Vancouver, they had only 1 game together, and it was a 2-1 loss. So they could give a team a hard time. I wouldn't seriously write them off in a round 1 matchup, but my gut's saying that they're just not going to make the playoffs. The only way they make it is if Hayden comes back healthy and starts, gathering points immediately. It doesn't take him 10 games to get acclimated and get back to game speed. If he comes back, has a huge impact early, Schmaltz and Keller and Hayden get it going. And if Ingram, starts to play a little bit better, he's had a couple games recently, they're a bit iffy. But if he could hold the fort down and increase their goalie stat numbers to around like a 9-10 save percentage, those are recipes for success where they could squeak in off some good goaltending and getting some healthy bodies back. But we'll see. They got a tough road ahead of them. This is a tough schedule, I would say. So we'll see what they're made of in the next 10 games after the All-Star break. So that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to see, spread the word. And as always, thank you for your support.